G'day, Chris Savage from RL Ministries in Australia. How did the wise men know of the coming of the messianic king? That's the question today. In Matthew 2 verses 1 and 2, now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, wise men from the east arrived in Jerusalem saying, "Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." We find it in Matthew chapter 2 verses 1 and 2. These wise men or magi from the east were Babylonian astrologers who specialized in the study of the stars. The Bible never refers to them as kings, neither do we know how many there were. But we know there had to be at least two because men is plural, and there had to have been enough of them to stir up Jerusalem, which we see in Matthew 2 verse 3. Now in ancient times, astrology and astronomy were not separate disciplines. If anyone would recognize a new light in the heavens, it would be these men, because that was their profession. Now, God uses these ancient astrologers, astronomers, to identify a new light in the heavens. And they see this light, but how did they connect this with the birth of the Jewish king? We have two sources for that. The first source dealing with the star would be the prophecy of Balaam found in Numbers 24 verse 17. And in his prophecy he says, "A star shall come out of Jacob and a scepter shall rise out of Israel." By profession, Balaam was an astrologer, a seer, who came from the region of Babylon. We find it in Deuteronomy 23 verse 4. Balaam connected the coming of the messianic person with kingship and with a star. What that means is that the coming of the King of the Jews will be signaled by a star in the heavens. The second source dealing with the timing would be the book of Daniel, which provided them the timetable for Messiah's first coming. Daniel 9, 24 to 27. When Daniel interpreted Nebuchadnezzar's dream, not only did he save the lives of all the Babylonian wise men, but he also became the head of the Babylonian school of astrology. However, Daniel did not receive revelation from the stars, but from the creator of those stars, the God of Israel. Through Daniel's faith, many of the Babylonian astrologers turned away from the worship of the stars and began worshipping the God of Israel. So a line of Babylonian wise men from generation to generation worshipped Jehovah, the true God. And having the book written by their former head, they looked forward to the coming of the Messiah, the King of the Jews. With Balaam himself being part of the Babylonian school of astrology, he would have passed down the information to his colleagues about the revelation of a star in relation to the coming Jewish king. Then centuries later, Daniel would have expounded to the Babylonian wise men as to when the star of Jacob would appear. Balaam connected the star with the kingship of the Messiah, while Daniel provided the messianic timetable. Now, while these wise men in Matthew's Gospel had the book of Daniel, they did not have the book of Micah, which prophesied the location of the Messiah's birth to be in Bethlehem. We find that in Micah 5 verse 2. For these wise men, the logical place where the King of the Jews would be born was Jerusalem, the Jewish capital. That's why they went to Jerusalem and to Herod first. I hope this has helped to clear up some misunderstandings about these wise men. This is Chris Savage from RL Ministries in Australia, wishing you Shalom.